Welcome back to the booth. Brian David Marshall here with Pro Tour Hall of Famer Randy Buehler. Jesse Hampton over Eric Froelich. Justin Cohen over Seth Manfield. Antonio Del Morel Leon over Li Shitian. One quarterfinal left to go. Let's get right down to the floor and see who is going to win between Jelger Wiegersma and Jacob Wilson. Hello and welcome to the last quarterfinal of Pro Tour Fate Reforged here in Washington, D.C. I'm Brian David Marshall, joined by Pro Tour Hall of Famer Randy Buehler. And speaking of Hall of Famers, Randy, we are going to start off with the number 3 seed, Jelger Wiegersma, on the play against Jacob Wilson of Canada, 19-year-old, returning to the top 8 of a modern Pro Tour, made the finals last year. What do you think of this matchup?
I think it's going to be pretty interesting. I mean, Jacob has an Abzan deck, which is probably more accurately called a green-white beatdown deck. He's got green-white aggro with a splash of black, not your everyday ordinary Abzan deck. The thing that Jacob does have is a great matchup in the mirror. He's good at beating Liliana of the Veil. He's good at beating the normal Abzan deck that the rest of the field has, but what he gave up in order to have that is he's not as good against combo. He doesn't have as much discard. He doesn't have Abrupt Decay. And now he got the pairing against the blue-red Splinter Twin combo deck from Jelger Wiegersma. So I think I like Jelger's side.
Yeah, Jelger even has the main deck Blood Moons, which are actually surprisingly good against Jacob Wilson, who relies on those Gavany Townships.
Bolt your bird. 22 years and counting. Yeah, you see Jacob's stats there, which are pretty nice. He's up over 100 pro points already, still only 19 years old. Yeah. Second Pro Tour top 8. He's got 2 Grand Prix wins amongst those 4 top 8s.
Well, one of those Grand Prix wins a modern Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Grand Prix Chicago.
The other one being the Team Limited and alongside Jesse Hampton and Matt Nass. Jelger also has 2 GP wins. Just such a fun top 8.
And a team win at the Pro Tour in Seattle 2004.
Yeah, Jelger said the one thing he doesn't have on his resume is an individual Pro Tour win.
Oh, wow.
He does have a Pro Tour win.
A lot of people are saying that they think this could be the one for him. We just heard Owen talking about that in the introduction. He thinks Jelger is the favorite to win this. So there you get a look at Jacob Wilson's hand. A couple of Siege Rhinos, a patch of land.
Nothing that interacts, right?
No.
No Thoughtseize, no, not even a Path to Exile. And Jelger knows it's really just the Path to Exiles, the Thoughtseizes. Doesn't have to worry about Abrupt Decay, and Jelger's got everything.
He's got the win in hand here.
Where's the second red mana? Oh, Scalding Tarn, yeah. He's got everything.
We could just see a very quick game win here, but no, he
does not go for it.
Wants to. He has the mana leak. He has the remand.
Yeah.
He might want to get himself
Path.
in a position to play around Path.
And he can. I mean, if he can get the land, he can have mana leak available. It's a couple lands short of that, but it's not like he's under a ton of pressure. So Jelger Wiegersma had a turn 4 kill, but only if Jacob was holding blanks. So he does not pull the trigger. Right. Decides, I've got a couple of turns. I'll try to build up some land and see if I can go for my kill with a mana leak backup.
Jacob gets in with the Voice of Resurgence.
Of course, now is
he going to tap out for a Siege Rhino and die?
Yeah, if he taps out for Siege Rhino, Jelger, I mean, A, he can stop the Siege Rhino if he cares about it. But it doesn't actually matter here. If Jacob is tapped down, does not have the white mana up representing Path, Jelger's just going to kill him.
And there's the Siege Rhino.
Yeah, Jelger could just flip his hand over at this point.
Yeah. He's like, all right, 20, noted. Make more than 10 fairies. And there is really just there's nothing.
No, we're done.
Jacob can do here. Main deck slaughter. You see a look on Jacob's face. He's like, okay, you got me? Yep. He's like, I get a token. And there's the Splinter Twin. There's the combo. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Game 1, Jelger Wiegersma.
I think Jacob is right to go for the Siege Rhinos. He's got to get a clock in play and just hope Jelger doesn't have it.
Okay, so we're going to see how these players went about their sideboarding after these quick messages.
Locations running events, you're sure to find one near you. Visit magic.wizards.com/pptq for schedules and information. Friday Night Magic has expanded to include all formats. Get ready for Commander, Legacy, or even Conspiracy drafts. Check out your local store for details and share your FNM stories by using the hashtag MTGFNM on Twitter. Visit magic.wizards.com/FNM for more information.
All right, before this match started, I believe Marshall Sutcliffe had a chance to talk to these two players, find out what their plans were for the 15 cards in their sideboard. Let's see what Jelger had to say first.
Hey there, I'm standing here with Jelger Wiegersma, getting ready to play your quarterfinal match against Jacob Wilson. We've got your sideboard up here. Jelger, what's the plan?
So the plan after sideboarding is basically to just combo as fast as possible and to try to protect that combo.
Okay.
A lot of my sideboard is built to like transition or to change into a control deck after sideboarding, but I'm not going to do that against Jacob because I think his creatures kind of outclass Batterskull tokens anyway, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm just boarding in 2 dispels to protect my combo from Path to Exile and Slaughter Pact.
Okay.
And then I'm boarding in 2 Anger of the Gods and an Engineered Explosives just to buy me a little bit more time against his creatures.
Does anything happen as far as differences between game 2 and a possible game 3?
A little bit, yeah. When I'm on the draw, a lot of my cards get worse. Like Remand, for example, gets a lot worse, and other counter spells are weaker as well. So I'm taking out different cards when I'm on the draw. I'm taking out Remands when I'm on the draw, and I'm taking out, let's see, Spell Snares when I'm on the play, basically.
Okay. Jelger, good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I've got Jacob Wilson with me here. Jacob, we've got your sideboard up on the board. What's your plan?
So I'm playing against Splinter Twin, where he's trying to combo me out, but also he can play as a control deck with Anger of the Gods and Batterskulls, so I'm not sure exactly what to expect. But regardless, I don't have that many good cards in my sideboard, unfortunately. I'm definitely going to bring in Thoughtseize. No matter what plan he's on, Thoughtseize is good against Anger of the Gods or Splinter Twin.
Okay.
Slaughter Pact can definitely surprise him. If I'm tapped out, he might not suspect anything and just go for Splinter Twin. And I'm also going to bring in Relic of Progenitus to hopefully nullify a Snapcaster Mage. And that's about it. And
Okay.
I'm just going to take out Kitchen Finks.
So nothing really transformative here. You're keeping basically the same thing with a few more pinpoint spells?
Yeah, I thought about last night. I tried out Fracturing Gust and Sword of War and Peace, and those are just too expensive.
They're too slow for the matchup?
Yep.
Okay, well, good luck.
Thanks.
All right, so there you have it. What do you think of those two sideboard plans? Jelger's like, well, Slaughter Pact, and he's like, well, maybe I can surprise him with
He
Slaughter
doesn't
Pact.
think he's going to surprise. I mean, it's more like situationally, Jelger may go for it and say,
Yeah.
well, he's only got 1 out in his deck. Well, you'd rather have 1 out than 0 if you're Jacob. But yeah, Jacob's version of the Abzan deck really does seem soft to combo. Like there's no Inquisition of Kozilek in his list. There's no Abrupt Decay in his list. The other Abzans have everything Jacob has plus another half dozen cards to interact here.
I'm really interested going forward from this tournament in the modern format. So, if people were going to pick up the other Abzan decks and go out and play that, the more traditional mid-range Abzan decks, as opposed to this green-white aggro version that Jacob Wilson's playing, then Jacob Wilson's deck would be a great deck
It's great,
to
and
play.
it was great. It got him to the top 8. The traditional Abzan decks were 28% of the field. They were far and away outplayed. Nothing else broke 12%, if I'm not mistaken.
Because now you might be driven back into the arms of that other Abzan deck by the success of 2 Splinter Twin decks this weekend.
True.
So it's going to be an interesting dynamic to watch the ebb and flow of that in the metagame.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Definitely an interesting dynamic. Looks like a mulligan for Jelger.
Jacob Wilson has kept his opening 7. And you see him, I can see him showing it to the hand tool operator as they peck away at the iPad. A little bit of an eye roll from Wilson. He's like, this is not comfortable. all your keeps on record for the world to see.
I really do like Jacob's deck. And he gives a lot of credit to Sam Pardee for putting it together. Brian Kibler was apparently independently came up with a very similar list. You got like the face-to-face guys with Sam Pardee and Josh McClain, Jacob Wilson, all former pod players. And this deck really is like, take your birthing pod deck, take out the pods, and put in Wiltleaf Liege. That's basically what they've got. I mean, it's not quite that simple, but it's close. Brian Kibler had apparently done something very similar, so when those two teams got together and compared notes, it was really the four of them that put this version of the deck together.
Looks
And
like
it was a great call for this field.
Looks like we let off with a Noble Hierarch. And
Yeah, Voice of Resurgence and another Noble Hierarch sitting in Jacob's hand, along with some land.
that was Voice, not Kasali Pride Mage.
Yeah. Jelger's got a Cryptic Command, a Twin, and 3 lands.
There you look at the Hierarch. As boltable as a bird. Yep. There's the Voice.
Now he's thinking about the second Hierarch because he knows Jelger probably boarded in Anger of the Gods. He's got enough mana, though, that maybe you just go for... Oh, he also has a Pride Mage.
Yeah. So he could have played
that's
the
new
Pride.
from his
He could have
opener.
played the Pride Mage and gotten in for 2 there with double Exalted.
Yeah, he decided to get in for 1 rather than commit a second Hierarch to the board.
And that Kasali Pride Mage will have more value for him later, where he can sit on the table and threaten a Splinter Twin.
Exactly. Jelger's on 2 twins now. A Cryptic and 3 lands.
So no play from Jelger. He can't do anything right now until turn 4.
Not in his hand.
So another Noble Hierarch. Get in for 4 with Voice of Resurgence. Double Exalted from the 2 Hierarchs.
Definitely a faster clock from Jacob this time. Does not play the Kasali Pride Mage.
No, he's going to hold that post Anger of the Gods.
Yeah.
He's fully expecting the anger to happen here. But that will be a 3rd Exalted trigger if he does decide to play it.
Right. Pride Mage also will be important. If Jelger can draw a Pestromite or a Deceiver Exarch, he may be tempted to just go for turn 3 creature, turn 4 twin. But the Pride Mage would bust that up. Jelger doesn't have the creature yet. Jelger does have the 2nd twin, so he can sort of feed 1 Splinter Twin to the Pride Mage.
Into the Pride Mage, yeah.
Problem is, the clock's kind of fast this game. I mean, Jelger's
already
doesn't
at 13.
have all the time in the world.
He's going to fall to 9, 8 with the fetch land.
Right.
It looks like Jacob's trying to figure out if he accelerates the clock by a full turn if he plays the Pride Mage.
He also drew Loxodon on Smiter, which can change the math. So he can definitely... Well, let's see. He can potentially play the Smiter and the Pride Mage here. Hasn't played a land yet this turn, so he can do both of those and have a mana available for the Pride Mage. I mean, he certainly sees 3 land and knows that there's the looming threat, the Sword of Damocles, as Rich likes to call it. You have 3 mana, that means I can die on your turn.
All right.
So Pride Mage definitely coming down as Splinter Twin insurance. Looks over to Jelger to see if it's going to get countered. No.
In for 5. 3 Exalted triggers on the Voice of Resurgence.
All right.
Plays
so
a land.
Jacob does not have enough offense to win next turn, but it's
No.
close.
But if he draws a Siege Rhino,
True. Yeah.
he can
He's
finish
put
him off.
He's put him where Siege Rhino is lethal. Or if Jelger has to, He also makes it difficult for Jelger to crack fetches and play untapped Steam Vents potentially.
But Jelger's got the infinite time walk of, Cryptic Command. He can tap the team.
Voice of Resurgence, though.
Yeah. There is Anger of the Gods.
Wow, off the top.
And he is just going to cast that right now.
Absolutely. Jeez.
Fires off Anger of the Gods. Everything's exiled. There's not even a trigger on the Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah, don't even get the voice token. That was a good draw phase.
Yeah.
That was a good draw.
That's what we like to call a good draw phase. So, time for the Loxodon on Smiter.
Yep.
Now, Jacob could have played the Smiter last turn.
Yeah, he wanted the Pride Mage. He wanted to be able to blow
Yeah.
up a Splinter Twin. And, I mean, if Jelger had the combo in hand, he would have been dead if he played Smiter instead of Pride Mage.
As weird as this sounds, the Smiter is going to get Cryptic Commanded.
Bounce and draw a card.
Yeah, can't be countered, but it can still be bounced with Cryptic Command. Okay, Thought sees you.
Wow. That
See
hand is
another Cryptic Command, 2 Splinter Twins.
no hesitation from Jacob Wilson.
Yeah.
Immediately takes the second Cryptic Command.
He's like, I've got 2 turns to win this. There comes the Smiter.
Jelger
That
needs
was-
a creature. That was not it.
So he has to draw creature next turn.
Cryptic Command would buy him another turn. There's some things that buy him a turn.
Yeah, oh, yes. I was talking about just for the win to close this out. He falls to 3. Another land. Goes to 2 from the Scalding Tarn. Thinning his deck.
Jelger has elected for Ice Age Islands.
They're tasteful. He's
It was
drawn
blue.
it's a Spell Snare.
Ah, Spell Snare.
Yeah, he scoops them up. Jacob Wilson on the back of some early Exalted attacks. Voice of Resurgence backed by 2 Noble Hierarchs and a Kasali Pride Mage takes game 2.
Yeah, Anger of the Gods off the top for Jelger bought him multiple turns, but he just never could find Deceiver, Exarch, or Pestermite. 6 of those cards in the deck, but none of them in the top, 20 cards or so?
Yeah, and a second Cryptic Command would have bought him a little more time, but Thoughtseize just snuck in, took that away from Jelger. Voice of Resurgence, we saw that get foiled by the Anger of the Gods, but that's been a big card all weekend for Jacob Wilson.
Sure.
This was one of the signature cards from Birthing Pod because you got to sacrifice it and get the value of having a
Absolutely.
token replace it, but it's still just very good.
Yeah, it's good even without Birthing Pod. If anybody wants to attack you, you can block. That token gets big. Also, it gets +2/+2 from Witleaf Liege.
Yeah, and if Jacob Wilson wins this tournament, Voice of Resurgence will not be a new addition to the Pro Tour Cube because, of course, Voice of Resurgence has already won a Pro Tour.
Sure.
So those of you who don't know, every time a deck wins a Pro Tour, all the individual cards from that deck go into Eric Klug's Pro Tour Cube.
Sure.
So Voice of Resurgence already there. He has some odd rooting interests sometimes during a Pro Tour. Let's take a look at Anger of the Gods, the card that trumped the Voice of Resurgence. Exile Clause. that's the big one.
Specifically to deal with Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah. I mean, so there you see these cards, R&D knows what's going on. They see the ebb and flow of these things. Loxodon Smiter, of course, the card that dealt the killing blow. That hammer hits hard. 4 power. This has
So
been
Loxodon Warhammer in his hand, right?
yeah, and this has been a huge card for Jacob Wilson. We talked a little bit about how do you play this deck, and he's like, look, here's what you do: you deploy your hand, and then
Sure.
you keep your Loxodon Smiter and your Wiltleaf Liege in your hand. Your opponent thought seizes you.
They have to take one.
And they have to take one. If you only have land or those cards, it comes into play, and you just make them feel really silly. And he said by the time he got towards the end of day 2, he would just, people would end their game 1s against him, and they would just have like 1 or 2 thought seizes in hand. It was just like a staring contest.
Yeah, and for those of you who may run into this deck in the out there when you're playing Modern, do not activate the +1 ability of Liliana against this wilted Abzan deck. You do not want a +1.
Yeah. You
Bad things happen.
Just put some monster into play. And and honestly, sacrificing creatures, the -2 ability, not that great either because of Lingering Souls. And Voice of Resurgence.
And Voice of Resurgence, right?
Yeah.
Kitchen things. You can see why the deck is so good against the normal Abzans.
Always bolt the bird. There you see the Twitter. If you're watching along at home, you can use the PTFRF, stands for Pro Tour Fate Reforged hashtag, and you may find your tweets scrolling by.
Brian Kibler rooting for the green creature deck.
Oh, that's so shocking.
Yeah.
I heard someone describe it as Kibler Abzan without knowing that Kibler had any
had contributed
any contribution to it. Yeah, 2 minutes later, Abzan gets crushed. That was game 1 was very quick. Game 2 did not take very long either.
True.
So we already have 3 semifinalists: Jesse Hampton, Justin Cohen, and Antonio Del Moral Leon. Who is it going to be here? We have Jelger Wiegersma, Jacob Wilson go to game 3. No stress.
I think this is officially bad for the Pro Tour cube, though. I believe Eric Klug was rooting for a burn deck to win the Pro Tour. Doesn't have any of the red fetch lands in his cube yet.
Right. There is no Wooded Foothills. Wooded Foothills has never won a Pro Tour.
It's only 8 of the fetches have? Is that how,
yeah. I think it's Wooded Foothills and
Arid Mesa?
And Arid Mesa, yeah. I think those are the only 2 that have not won. Right. Oh, there was Arid Mesa. That was in Rietzel's deck, I believe. Maybe it's one of the other.
Bloodstained Mire?
Yeah. Maybe Bloodstained Mire is the one that has not done it. I know it was two red fetches. All right. There you see the opening hands. A couple of Noble Hierarchs and a Path to Exile and a Gavony Township. Is that a keepable hand, Randy? It is. So, Island sleight of hand for Jelger Wiegersma. One mana blue card selection spells have been a staple of the Modern format for as long as it's been around, and
they keep getting worse.
However hard they've tried to, add those to the ban list. Noble Hierarch.
Yeah, everything on the bench just keeps rooting. Opt is sitting on the end of the bench, going, someday they'll get to me.
Didn't we see someone playing Peak this weekend?
Yes, we did.
Okay, here comes the second Hierarch, but there's an Anger of the Gods waiting in the wings here.
No second red? Yeah, he's only got 1 red so far. You can Snapcaster the Slight, though.
There you get a look at Jacob Wilson's hands. The second Noble Hierarch, the Path to Exile, the Siege Rhino, that Relic of Progenitus that he said, I'm just bringing that in
Versus Snapcaster.
To make Snapcasters a little worse. You get to cycle it, essentially. You get to, use the ability to draw a card. And there's Township, Relic of Progenitus.
Relic? Mission accomplished right here.
I hate this card. I hate
Oh, not
it.
quite accomplished, right? The fetch land means that Snapcaster can, in fact, get the slight.
Yeah. You get to tap it, and the player that you target chooses to exile a card from their library.
I bet Jelger chooses the fetch land. What do you think?
I think so, but 1 mana, and it doesn't require tapping, so you can...
Right.
Uh,
Jacob does not have the 1
he
mana.
does
though.
not have any mana available to him now.
Oh, did you do that as a response to the fetch land? Or no? Oh, Jelger fetched as a response to the relic. That makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah, Jelger saw exactly what was going on, wanted to get the fetch land into the graveyard before Relic of Pretended is resolved. So. I think you just run out Snapcaster for Sleight of Hand here, right?
It looks like what he's going to do.
I mean, he's going to hold up Dispel? That doesn't seem worth it. The only instance he cares about are the ones that happen while he's trying to combo off.
What lands are Jacob Wilson playing? Is he able to get a Siege Rhino into play next turn?
Well, his draw had 2 Gavany Townships,
Oh.
so I don't think so. Oh, Jelger goes for the Anger.
Yeah, there you go.
So does not Snapcaster Slight. He'd rather kill 2 Noble Hierarchs.
Well, he drew the second red source. I mean, that's if you bolt the bird, you definitely anger the 2 noble
Right.
hierarchs.
Right. Second red source off the top allowed this play, and Jelger makes it. Yeah, now Jacob is on 1 green or white mana plus 2 Gavany Townships. Oh, he drew March Flats. That helps.
He's going to cycle, quote unquote, the Relic of Progenitus, exiles the graveyards. Decides not to play his Noble Hierarch. Okay. Chooses not to break his fetch land there.
Yeah, he wants to maximize the odds of him drawing a land, I guess. The no Noble Hierarch is interesting there.
Goes for Lingering Souls. All right, says Jelger. And I think one of these is going to get bolted. Yep. And then Snapcaster Mage, get back to bolt. And take down the other half of the front half of Lingering Souls. Jelger starts to whittle them down. Attacks for 2 with the Snapcaster Mage. And he's sitting on a hand of, does he have he has another Snapcaster Mage, a
Yes.
Dispel, and a Splinter Twin. Fist full of action for Jacob Wilson. Noble Hierarch, Voice of Resurgence, Siege Rhino, Path to Exile. Another Gavany Township, as we've seen from his opening hand.
Just to make sure you can confirm like totals, because I can. It's easy. Yeah, I got 14, yes, 60, so I was 60. Okay, thanks. Sorry.
All right, there's the second Township. Plays Voice of Resurgence.
Kind of want to play that one first, because if it comes into play, then
Then
any
all subsequent
future
counters get worse.
Exactly.
And again, Jacob is sitting on a Path to Exile. Passes the turn. Finds his Serum Visions. Promptly casts it. Draw a card and then scry 2.
Found a Pestermite.
All the pieces are assembled.
Got a Dispel for the
And
path.
he's got,
Also,
I was just
doesn't
going to
he?
say, he's got everything he needs.
Jacob has a path and a Rhino,
Yes, he does.
and his clock is not faster than this. He needs to draw a second way to interact.
A second path right now would be pretty sweet.
Sure. Thoughtseize. Also pretty sweet right here for Jacob. But he draws a Windswept Heath.
Flash is back. Lingering Souls. Jelger. Looks to me like he's going to take this.
Jelger's hand has everything.
All right. In comes Voice of Resurgence. No need to muck around.
It was another,
Snapcaster Mage trades.
was another game where Anger bought Jelger a bunch of time. This time, his deck cooperated.
He's running through what could he have. Path and Slaughter Pact would be a little
Yeah,
bit
he
of-
loses to 2 ways to kill Pestermite. Or at least he doesn't win through that.
But of course, the longer he waits, the
Yeah, I
more
mean,
likely Jacob is to have 2 ways to kill Pestermite.
And there's
But
5 power over there, too, so he doesn't have infinite time. All right, here's the Pestermite.
Tap a land. This is okay. Says, I'm going to put this Splinter Twin on this Pestermite. Do you have a response? Okay.
Jacob's going to crack the fetch land for the white mana so that he still has a white around, representing a second path.
Gets the plains, shows the path to exile to Jelger, who now will show him the Dispel, and that should be the game.
Splinter Twin
There's the
combo.
hand. Jelger Wiegersma advances to the semifinals over Jacob Wilson. 2 Splinter Twin decks advance to the semifinals.
And they're paired against each other, right?
Blue-red fans rejoice.
You will have a Splinter Twin deck in the finals.
You will also have an Abzan deck in the semifinals and an Amulet Bloom deck. So Splinter Twin versus Abzan or Splinter Twin versus Bloom in the finals. Interesting. Wow. Well, you know what? That kind of played out the way we thought it would.
I agree.
Not enough disruption, not enough thought seizes and inquisitions of Kozilek and the things that you see in some of the more black-heavy Abzan decks.
Right. Yeah, I think Splinter Twin might be a dog to the normal Abzan deck, but it was not an underdog there.
No, and Anger of the Gods was
Sure.
just, like triple time walk, both games for Jelger Wiegersma. We're going to send it back to the news desk. We're going to switch things around, get ready for some semifinals. We got a little bit of a break. We got an announcement coming, all sorts of
the
cool
announcement?
stuff. I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's send it back to the desk.
He may not know, but we do. I can tell you we are less than 5 minutes away from a new set announcement. That's coming your way in just under 5 minutes. But I've been joined at the desk by Luis Scott Vargas, Ian Duke. We're just going to put a bow on the quarterfinals that have happened here this morning. Why don't we take a look at our bracket? And our very first quarterfinal saw Jesse Hampton of the United States up against Eric Froelich. Jesse Hampton won that one. Ian, you were in the booth first thing this morning. What did you take away from that best of 3?
Yeah, it was just an amazing match between 2, very similarly matched decks of the same archetype. In the first game, we saw Eric Froelich really run away with the game, very tempo-oriented game. But then by the time we hit game 3, we saw a long attrition-based matchup where Jesse Hampton was able to steal it on the back of Tassiger, the Golden Fang, a new card from Fate Reforged.
All right, let's get back to the bracket. Our second quarterfinal saw Seth Manfield with his burn deck up against Justin Cohen. Now, he's in his first Pro Tour, a PTQ winner from Madison, roommate of Sam Black, and they had tested together this Amulet Bloom combo deck. And as you'll see, emerging from that second quarterfinal was Justin Cohen. Once again, Ian, you were there to watch all that as it unfolded. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, 2 blisteringly fast decks, one literally blisteringly fast with burn spells. The other, this Amulet Bloom deck, which we've seen can have some explosive draws in the back of Amulet of Vigor, Summer Bloom, and Primeval Titan. And that was really interesting, a little bit non-interactive, but both decks have really interesting game plans, and it was great to see that unfold.
All right, so we now know that our first semi-final will see Jesse Hampton up against the winner there. There you see Justin Cohen. They will play first. We're around about 25 minutes or so from them getting down to business in the semi-finals of Pro Tour Fate Reforged. But then we go to the bottom half of the bracket, and our third quarterfinal was between the Spaniard Antonio Del Moral Leon in his 4th Pro Tour, first top 8, against the 4th Pro Tour top 8 man from Hong Kong, Li Shichan. In the end, it was Antonio Del Moral Leon who won that one. But Louis Scott Vargas, to say that, oh yeah, the Spaniard won, Li Shichan's out, does in no way justice to an amazing match.
Yeah, game 3 especially was just such a nail-biter. I mean, both players were top decking. They both needed specific cards to come up. The game ended up where Li Shichan actually had the option of playing Eidolon of Great Revival and locking himself out of the game, which he didn't do, but it was a very, very close game where, you know, every life point mattered. Both players went to exactly 1 or 0.
Right. Fantastic match, well worth checking out if you're just joining us and wondering what all the fuss was about. That was one for the ages. And then we have just seen, if we go back to our bracket, we've just seen our 4th and final quarterfinal between the 2 JWs, and it was Jelger Wiegersma of the Netherlands who advances with blue-red twin. And in a way, perhaps that was the most disappointing of the 4 quarterfinals, Luis, because we felt that maybe there were some quarterfinals that had some races, and this one, in a way, really didn't quite get off the ground.
No, I mean, Jelger was a little more controlling in game 3 when he assembled the twin combo, but game 1 he just kind of put the 2 together and just won the game. So, which is one of the strengths of that deck. The fact that it can do that makes your opponents, you have to respect that, but it ended up not being as interactive as some of the post-board games especially can be, with Anger of the Gods and Cryptic Commands and Shackles and Batterskull.
And what that means is that we have our semi-final lineup. So Antonio Del Moral Leon of Spain will go up against Jelger Wiegersma of the Netherlands. That is a blue-red twin, more or less mirror match. Marshall and the guys will be along in a little bit to give you the full ins and outs and the rundown on the semi-finals. But right now, I'm going to get rid of this guy and bring someone very important to the news desk, because it is time to bring you the Magic the Gathering new set announcement.